Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people hate reading. This month is the 1970s, so we pick the movie The Exorcist. And we bring you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens,
Meow.
Ryan Preston,
and the old guy.
Right there.
Old guy's here.
I wanted to let you guys know that we will be losing our iTunes ability because our service provider is canceling that ability. So we're really sorry. We're still trying to figure out a way to bring you our program through iTunes, but it may take a while.
But luckily, the 9 of you can still watch it on YouTube.
Exactly. So to start this off, I'll read the description. It's when a teenage
I was going
girl...
to read the
I
description.
thought so too.
Nope, I'm reading it.
Oh,
I thought Rob was going to read.
We all agreed on it.
What? Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Guys, don't fight. We can all read the description.
All right, here we
I'm
go.
not going to.
When a teenage girl is possessed by a mysterious entity, her mother seeks the help of 2 priests to save her daughter.
A chain-smoking priest.
Drinking priest.
Drinking priest.
Both the priests, yeah.
He
They
was
were
Irish.
AKA an Irish priest.
a priest who lost his faith.
Technically, I think they said a Jesuit priest.
Yeah.
He wasn't losing his faith. He was doubting his faith.
He did lose his face.
And
He may have lost his faith.
Nope.
He said face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't, but he didn't lose his faith. He was doubting.
He was a...
So who's going to start this off?
All right.
Now, we're we doing this open discussion thing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty
All
much
right.
what we're doing.
So-
So I think Johnny should start since he's been boycotting this movie his whole life. So
Yeah. And
All 12
boycotting
years of it.
horror movies, apparently.
All 12 years of it? Really? I'm just 12 years old. The first thing I got to say is there's some pretty random crap in this movie. The first one being the Nazi waiter scene where the director was going, "You're
That
Nazi,
was
aren't
kinda
you?
funny.
You're Nazi." I love the part when he's like, "I'm gonna kill you," and they started strangling the guy.
I just thought it was funny that he threw down his drink in the
Right.
middle of that fight. He just kind of chucks it on the ground. It's like, whoa, dude. Why didn't you bash him over the face with it?
Right? And the priest singing show tunes made me laugh more than it probably should have.
That guy was a real priest.
Was he?
Yeah, real priest.
Really?
Yeah, Father, I'll think of his name in a second.
Mulcahy?
Father William O'Malley.
Ah.
Yeah, I thought he was fabulous.
Yeah, he actually, I think, still teaches as a priest at a college somewhere.
Oh, wow. I got to say that the one thing about this movie that I noticed more than anything was the cinematography. Like, for example, everything was either a long sweeping shot, everything was either shot above or below the actors, the long sweep in and out, so they would go in and out on the hallway. And it just, I actually thought that was well done. That really brought a sense of, I thought more of a tension instead of doing straight on or close-up shots.
I agree, man. I think the story was told through a lot of good editing and good cinematography.
Yeah, I was actually impressed by the cinematography. Thought it kind of held up by today's standards. I mean, it didn't look like a movie made in the 70s.
No.
The only thing that really made you realize that you were in the 70s was basically the outfits and the cars.
Well, some of the effects...
I totally disagree.
But it just
Really?
made it seem
Oh,
like
I
it took
absolutely
place
disagree.
in the 70s.
You think it was still kind of grainy and choppy?
I really don't think the cinematography was all that great in this movie, just to be honest with you. And the special effects, of course, to today's standards, was really poor. I thought, the close-ups, it was like they just threw lumps of clay on her face.
Wasn't talking about the special effects. I was actually talking about the
Just
cinematography.
about the overall.
How much have you seen of today's horror films?
Yeah.
Kind of what I'm bringing in is like the Conjuring, Sinister.
Well, we talking the
some of
plot,
the
or
other
are we
ones?
talking about the actual
I'm talking about
making
the
of
actual
the film?
quality of
The-
the
just-
cinematography in comparison of today's horror films that they kind of do this in,
Yeah. Well,
to the past ones, because I watch a lot of those still.
Okay.
Like camera angles, camera placement, where the actors are in the scene. Are they in the center? Are they the beginning or the end of the scene? There's a scene where the priest is walking around and talking to somebody. If you notice, he's actually in the corner of that scene where you could see everything behind him. And you don't see that a lot. You don't see the scenes that thought out, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a reason this was the first horror movie to ever be nominated for Best Picture for Academy Award.
Now,
Yeah.
I just gonna say, I gotta say though, some of my favorite quotes are, it's like a Disney version of the Ho Chi Minh story. That was hilarious. Or was it 88 doctors and all you can tell me with all of your bullshit is, and then it cuts out?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some interesting quotes from the movie. But I got to give it off to Ellen Burst, who looks great without all those diet pills.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody realize she was the mom from Requiem from a Dream besides Ryan and I?
Yeah.
And,
jeez, you're right.
And Linda Blair, I think, did a fantastic job as
also
such
nominated
a child
for Best
actor.
Actress.
Well, for a child
For Best
actress.
Supporting Actress, I beg your pardon.
And I mean,
Ellen Bernstein was nominated for Best Actress.
yeah. But I was kind of thinking, could you imagine being the parents of that child and going over the script with her?
Dude, I think I heard a rumor. I'm not sure how true it is, but I heard a rumor that the studio offered her like $50,000 a year for like 6 or 7 years or something like that for psychiatric help.
Wow, that wouldn't
Like
surprise me.
thinking that the movie would give her, some kind of like mental damage.
I wouldn't be surprised. I do
Well, for the period of time, it was very shocking. The language,
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
The scenes where she was saying the F word and stabbing
Oh, yeah,
herself
very
in the generals.
controversial.
And I mean, it was, yes, it was very controversial.
especially if you look at the 3 movies we've done previous.
Oh yeah.
Or this is none of those movies even remotely contain the violence this does, the cussing,
Right.
And it's very tame if you think about it in terms of today's types of horror movies. I mean, this movie is often,
soft.
tried to, like people often try to recreate what this movie really did with far less than what people try to do it with now.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think to get people shocked, you might actually have to kill somebody in real life.
Well, the scene where her head goes 360 degrees
that was well done.
that at that time, people, that was what everybody was talking about. I said,
Yeah.
my
Oh,
God,
yeah.
did you see? How did they do that? And so there
Yeah,
were,
I mean, there was a few of those. I mean, with the bed shaking and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff really spooked people. I mean, it was so creepy at the time. People were like whole towns were actually banning it in certain parts of the country, and which actually started this weird phenomenon where people were like taking buses to the nearest town that would actually play it.
interesting.
I gotta say though, some of the special effects have aged. Like when she lifted up, you could see the strings.
Yeah, there were things that didn't hold up, but as far as basically the camera quality is more of what I was kind of pointing out. It's not. It hasn't changed that much in the horror films that are done today, as opposed to this horror film.
I don't think this movie.
I was expecting there to be a lot more age in just the way the camera lenses looked.
You mean far as it being a product of its time?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing that I was saying a few minutes ago was how it just looked like it took place in the 70s. It didn't look like it was made in the 70s.
That's what I was kind of saying too. I do have to point out that it really bothered me that detective tried to say that Groucho Marx played Othello. He never did. Okay, that really bugged me. I don't know what film he was watching, but it was not a Groucho Marx.
So you looked it up.
I liked it.
No, he just knows that
the
as a
father
Groucho
told him he looked like Paul Newman, and I was going to add he looked like Paul Newman and John Cleese.
Oh, there you go.
By the way, I would actually pay money to see the Marx Brothers as Othello.
That would be great. Well, apparently Groucho Marx was a good friend of the writer of the book, of the novel.
Okay. So that's kind of why you got a little drop in there as well.
That's interesting. I was going to say, the other thing I thought was funny towards the end of the movie when he's beating the crap out of the little girl. I think that out of everything in this movie, that was kind of like, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, when he flips out. And I also got to say, that was a 20-foot jump from that window to hit the stairs at that exact angle to go down like that. I mean, that was not a guess. He had to have planned that.
That was a stage dive right there. Right. I mean, that was
quite a jump.
So
I think it was 73 steps.
Yeah, something like that.
Was the Exorcist steps.
So what did you guys really think of the atmosphere of the movie? You know, the pacing, you know, stuff like that.
Oh man, I thought it was one of the perfect setups. I mean, it was the Exorcist scene itself was about, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes of the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The lead up to her actually getting possessed was one of the coolest things ever, and then the slow, you know, build of it before you see anything really nutty, and then that first moment, you know, when they walk into the room and she's just flopping over the bed. I mean, that's a crazy thing with no special effects, so it really is this little girl just being whipped around by a harness. You know, it has this really, you know, kind of visceral reaction to the, you know, it looks really tactile as opposed to stuff nowadays you'd be able to see the CGI or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
You know the scene where she walks down the stairs on all fours but backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't in. This is the extended version that I believe we all watched.
Yeah.
Which came out a little bit later. But it was really with the scenes that was supposed to be the extra scenes that were added later on were scenes that were supposed to be in it, but were taken out just because of the director. But the writer itself, I mean, all of those scenes were in the novel.
Yeah.
What was it edited at all for rating? I mean, because in '73, I'm surprised.
No,
it
not
didn't
at
have-
all. Matter when it came out, it was rated X.
That makes
Because
sense.
I don't think they had another appropriate rating for it.
Like an NC-17.
Yeah.
Right, and at the time, it was really at the time, like in Britain, when the whole video nasties thing was kind of starting.
Thatcher.
Well, I was wanting to get back to that one scene that I talked about where she was walking down. What got me in the story is the psychiatrist still thought, well, maybe there's still something medically wrong.
Let's go ahead and give her more Ritalin.
What?
I think
You know, that's what got me on that one. That was pretty funny.
I think that was the best part of the whole movies is towards the end of the doctor part, she had like the entire medical staff when they're thinking it could be this, it could be that, and she's like, seriously, it's taking all you guys and you guys aren't telling me crap. I thought that was probably the best thing about that movie, explaining that medical science can't explain everything. They were even trying to have a medical explanation of exorcism.
But also,
Right.
can you? They proposed one. But think about the MRI that she took.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, that was hardcore, dude.
Shit.
God.
That scared me.
Yeah, that was
That
hard
one
for me to watch than the chick throwing up on homeboy.
Yeah.
That's the only time my wife looked away from the screen.
Oh, you
And
did
she
get your
said,
wife to
let
watch
me
it.
know when this is over.
And
That's funny.
What was that other scene? And there's that thing on the arm like going all around her.
Oh, yeah, that
It's-
thing. I don't even know what that was.
You know, it was,
Also, that was top of science in 1970.
Yeah.
I think you were
Yeah,
safer
really.
with an exorcism.
Jeez.
That probably gave her the demon.
Magnified it.
Right. I did hear, I think it was the mom that when the harness ripped her away like that, I heard that she got hurt really bad on that scene.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I'm actually surprised nobody was really hurt in some of the, because there's a lot of jerking motions and
Oh,
on some of the
especially on
harness.
the kid.
Yeah.
Well,
Like the up and down whiplash one.
Ellen Bernstein actually suffered a back injury
Yeah.
by the use of the harnesses, yanking her around. The director, man, was kind of nutty when it came to filming this movie and as far as
Shocking.
trying to get real reactions. When the father, the Exorcist man himself, I can't think of his name, Max von something.
Yeah,
Max
Shadow.
von Sydow.
Shadow.
Right.
Sydow.
When he was sort of doing the original blessing and his hand was kind of shaking, the director wasn't able to get sort of the shot that he wanted, so he walked up to him and said, "Do you trust me?" And pretty much as soon as he could get the word yes out of his mouth, he slapped him. And so when his hand's kind of trembling, that's sort of the reaction shot of him being slapped in the face by the director. Also, the guy that played Father, what's his name, Karras?
Yeah.
In order to get one of the reaction shots of him being startled, the director fired a gun behind him. For
Nowadays,
which, obviously pissed him off and said, like, "Look, man, I'm an actor. I can act startled."
nowadays the actor would turn around and shoot the director.
And that also the Max von guy, when he got spit on, that burst was actually supposed to hit his chest.
Yeah.
And it hit
Right.
his face.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the shock and disgust is the director said, well, that's just great. Let's just roll with it. He didn't want to redo the scene.
I love the first time, the first priest who got threw up on, and his reaction was just like, huh?
Yeah.
Just kind of,
Yeah.
ew. I have to say, though, some of, like, the throw-up scene and all that actually, I didn't think that aged. That actually aged, was probably the best effect in the movie, I thought.
Really?
Because it was a practical effect.
It reminded me of Nickelodeon.
Oh, it does, but I mean, for a practical effect where like the makeup didn't really hold up very well, some of the harness work didn't hold up well. This one is a physical effect that I actually thought was held up pretty well considering the scheme of things.
Okay.
Considering it was like, they had like tubes glued to her face.
I think it's pretty immature, actually. To be honest with you,
Well,
as far as special effects go.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So that's what I mean on that.
All right. Well, you've been pretty quiet, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I saw the movie in the theaters. Again, the old guy. Thanks. And I will say that at the period of time, the movie was quite shocking. The language, the violence, the whole idea behind it. So it had at that time, it had a lot more effect on me than sitting back now 30 years later and watching it again. I didn't think it held up, but it's probably because of the emotion side of it. I mean, since I knew what was coming, I knew what the effects were going to be, there wasn't that shock. So seeing it for the first time, yes, I can see it still holding up. But 30 years later, it just looks immature, like I said, as far as the special effects and all.
I've seen this movie. This is probably about my fourth time through it or something.
You do have a problem, don't you?
And
well, you have off air. Ask him
quite
about
saying-
Phantasm.
I'm not quite saying that the effects and things held up. I'm just saying the camera lenses to me was the thing that I thought would have aged more in. Not
Hey,
seen
well,
in about
film quality.
8 years or so, 10 years.
We're talking real film still, and they had the lenses and they had the film. I mean, it is the level that it is now, but they produced some. You go all the way back to some of the classics like Lawrence of Arabia and some of the other things that just these huge scenes that were done, 40 years ago or so. Camera effect was still pretty good.
What it is it actually looks like a movie. You know what I mean? Where we've been so used to seeing,
CG.
CGI that looks like real life. This was like Rob said, it's just film. You know what I mean? It's how we were used to seeing it when we were younger.
Well, it's like Quentin Tarantino's thing about really hating the new age of digital cinematography because he says it's TV in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even Tarantino said the day they stop making film is the day he quits.
Yeah,
Because
he says lots of things.
Well, they'll keep making film as long as Tarantino keeps making movies.
I don't even think so.
I don't know about that.
I think that if all the other directors and producers
Now,
dropped out,
What's going to
There's
happen
be
is
some place that will specially make that shit just for the Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
possibly, but you got to think of supply and demand.
it's still going to be converted anyway because theaters are not going to be able to play film.
Oh
There's no
yeah, they've
equipment.
gotten to the point where they're starting to email movies to theaters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they send them like hard drives with codes.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
was gonna to bring back on the movie that the scene when they're doing that medical imaging, that magnet thing. I love the effect of the blood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the squirting of the blood I actually thought was a very good effect.
Oh yeah, with the heart pumping and everything. That
Yeah.
was crazy.
The think. I was actually pretty impressed with that.
that was good. That was done well.
Well, it was just a good attention to detail. You know?
Oh yeah. And the whole time they were putting that needle in, I'm like, oh god, that looks painful.
Well, it did. It was a hell of a needle too.
Yeah.
It's one of those
Yeah.
big
Heavy
jobs.
gauged, yeah. So I want to say, Ryan, what do you give this movie?
Oh man, this is. I mean, it's a 3 just because it's. It almost teeters on a 4 just because of really what this movie spawned in terms of how much it's influenced, modern day horror or thriller or anything with that kind of suspense. At the time, like Rob said, it was such a crazy reaction with everybody. So, like right there in your face, something you hadn't seen before. The movies prior to this, was like Rosemary's Baby, which was a creepy movie. You know what I mean? A slow burn, really good, but didn't have that that vulgar, kind of reaction that people have with that.
I was gonna say it's the vulgar button that turned Ryan on.
But I mean, look, I'm not alone in liking this movie. The thing was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, man.
I know.
I mean, it won 2 for Best Adapted Screenplay and Sound Mixing. It won 4 Golden Globes, including Best Motion Picture, Best Director,
Who wants a Golden Globe?
Screenplay.
Sounds painful.
I do.
So James, so what do you give it?
It's definitely a seminal, favorite of horror fans, everywhere, and one that very few horror movies ever get this kind of public, like overall kind of accolades,
Yeah.
especially from the Academy. There was one guy in the Academy that says, if this thing wins, I'm quitting.
Wonder if he did.
Hopefully.
Well,
Sure
it didn't
hope
win
so.
Best Picture, and that's what he was referring to.
Okay. Yeah.
So James,
I like this movie. I gotta say though, I'm not that big of a fan of it because, as Rob said, there are a lot of special effects things that do not hold up. They did not hold up the first time I saw it, probably back in the 80s. But I was expecting to see this movie, and since I haven't seen it in probably 8-10 years, to kind of see that basically not so much the cinematography, but the film version of this, the camera lenses and things wouldn't hold up to this day. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that it did. The acting, I still think the acting is really well done. The director did a lot of, as you guys said, went through great lengths to get real reactions out of his actors. And I think that holds up to this day. I give it a 3.
I'm curious real quick before we continue. I was surprised you got your wife to see this movie.
She's seen it before.
Has she? Okay.
This isn't her first time.
I'm not surprised by that, actually. So, Rob?
Laura saw it.
Yeah.
God. The problem I have with this movie is, if you had asked me what I thought about it back when it came out in 73, I'd probably have given it a 4.
Wow.
Okay. Because it was cutting edge. I mean, I got to give them props for that, for the period of time and what they did and the special effects and the way the language was used and all of that was so cutting edge at the time. I would have done that. But 30 years later, looking at it now, I don't think the movie holds up. I really don't. The acting's good, but some of it's so damn corny. The detective in this movie, this guy, Lee Cobb,
he's done a lot of stuff, though.
Yeah, but that was a terrible acting job.
It was
for him.
terrible.
Yeah.
It really was. It was like he was
character.
thrown in
Of a cookie cutter of a character.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. He was a caricature of a police detective, and he came off wrong.
You know what he reminds me of?
I agree.
He reminds me of the Pulp Fiction briefcase. He's a MacGuffin to move the story.
Pretty much, but even the briefcase did a better job. To be honest. And,
I don't disagree.
Yeah, this was terrible.
You are right.
On
I
his part.
really thought the whole thing of, hey, Father, do you like movies?
Yeah.
Type thing was just kind of like, really?
And it almost seemed to me like he was like, hey, you want to go on a date?
Yeah, almost, huh?
Yes, my wife doesn't want to go on dates with me. Why don't I get you two?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Come on, I remember being a choir boy.
Whoa. So
we're sorry to all you Catholics.
With that said, I'm going to give it a 2.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that said, with adjusted inflation, this would be Warner Brothers' highest-grossing movie of all time.
Wow.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, I'm not taking away anything that it won at awards. It was, like I said, at the time, it was cutting edge, and there was really something to it. If you brought this movie back today and ran it through for the very first time, people never saw it, nobody would go see this movie.
Yeah.
It'd go straight to DVD.
I agree with you. It doesn't have the same effect as when you see it the first time. It's one of those, movies when you see it the first time, you've seen it the first time. You react like you should,
Right.
Yeah. Right. No, totally. I got to caveat this because normally I would probably give this a 2 just because the story wasn't that interesting. The problems other people mentioned. The cinematography in this movie was absolutely insane. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was very well thought out. And also because what Ryan said, is it really set the stage for some of the modern horror movies. I mean, if you take a look, there's a lot of stuff and subtle hints that are borrowed in different movies
A lot
throughout
of
the
movies
years.
borrow this.
I give this a 3 out of 5 because it deserves attention just because of what it did spawn.
I agree.
Okay.
And it's not something I really want to see again, but it deserves at least a 3 out of 5.
Nah.
Well, you're kind of I'm
going to be tougher.
It's
on
3
this
against
movie.
1. So,
I don't
So you're the
care.
Russian judge.
Oh yes, I'm the Russian judge.
So Ryan, do you have any movie news?
Well, I got one particular thing that I was going to bring up. Everybody, I think here did everybody here watch Breaking Bad?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I have.
I have.
Okay, James, I know you have. Rob, did you say
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you have watched it?
I have.
Okay, awesome. So John's the only one that's the
Odd man out.
black sheep over here.
Yeah, like
not
that's
watching
news.
world's greatest TV shows. But for those of you who are actually fans of Breaking Bad, there is going to be a prequel series involving Saul entitled Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Going to be airing on AMC, and Mike Ehrmantraut's character has just signed on to co-star in it.
So this is supposed to be before Heisenberg?
Yeah.
It's going to be before Heisenberg, more to do with Saul and his kind of up-and-comingness of how he's got to be such a scumbag lawyer.
That
Yeah.
might not be too bad.
It
I
should,
don't know.
yeah, it might be pretty
It's
good.
going to be probably more of a comedy, but I can't wait to see that.
Saul was
kind of
always
shit.
a
I love
goofy
Bob
character, so
Odenkirk.
I
I
don't
thought he
know.
was great.
I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of Saul's character, but all right.
Oh, you bite your goddamn tongue.
Hell no.
I was gonna say I wanted to throw in a little bit in the movie news
I want
was
to see
the
Pinkman die.
Tarantino is not doing the Hateful Eight as his next movie.
I know he's suing, and you really think he's not going to do it now?
He's already said he's not going to do it.
Yeah, but
Tarantino is one of these guys that generally, if he says something, he doesn't generally back down.
Yeah, but that's kind of crap to actually put out a movie that everybody's excited for and
Yeah.
then just to pull it out. I think it's
because he's
probably
got to
gonna
get his
release
panties
it
in
later.
a
Well,
wad,
here's
you
the
know?
thing. The reason why he's pissed because he's like he got backstabbed. He did not say that he's not going to do it, but it will not be his next movie.
Okay. Well,
Well, that makes more
I was
sense.
going to say he's probably got a couple extra things that's in works, a couple other first drafts of a couple other scripts. So it might just be I'm going to wait long enough for everybody to forget about this.
Yeah.
and saw him. He did an interview with Jay Leno since Jay Leno was leaving, and finally, I mean, the way it's going. But anyway,
As long as
it was a
Conan
very
doesn't take
interesting
over.
interview with Tarantino, and he was talking about how he writes, and he writes, and he's just in the moment, and he's writing, and then he stops and he goes and does something, and he says sometimes he'll be in the middle of swimming in his pool or something, and he'll go, oh, I got to get out and write this down, and he'll just jump out and do things, and knowing him, he probably has 4 or 5 scripts already done.
He probably
Sure, yeah,
You know?
exactly. And the kind of guy that can just become obsessed with an idea, and want to get it out. So I can understand his frustration,
Yeah.
But really, I mean, places like Gawker, I understand it's to you it's news, but to the rest of us, it's like, no, we actually kind of want to see the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
And Gawker's a bunch of vulture media people anyways. So
Seriously,
they're
they make
they part of
they
the
make a
AP?
living off of ruining shit.
well, no, these are the guys that released the one thing nobody wants to see:
Took you
a
a second,
Hulk
Rob.
Hogan sex tape.
Oh,
So they're
They
All right,
also
so
did
they're
what's it,
bottom
Tonya
feeders,
Harding
then.
sex tapes too?
yeah, probably
Jeez.
they're bottom feeders. I
Bottom
mean, they're
feeders,
as
yeah.
low as they go. None of the digitality even can stand Gawker. So
must be attorneys.
next week's picks, the old guys.
Old guy.
So what have you chosen?
Well, I spent a lot of time researching this because there's in the 70s there were some really major breakthrough movies, I think. And I think because of some of the movies that were made in the 70s, we've gone the direction we have. But one of the breakout movies that made many sequels after it
It did.
was the original Godfather. And I think it'd be a good choice for us to talk about.
I do like the Godfather series. I still think the second one is the best one out of all of them. But yeah, I think it's a good.
I
Start.
think the original starts it, and
Yeah, the original is a great setup. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just happy Joe Pesci's not in it.
Hey.
What is it? Casino?
Hey.
Go
Yeah.
watch Casino? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching Real Flix Reviews. I gave The Exorcist a 3 to 5. James gave it a 3 to 5. Ryan gave it a 3 to 5. And Rob, playing the Russian judge, gave it a 2 out of 5. We'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, me too.
I want to know if you took off and like the sort of like the spaghetti westerns. There's just so much.
Oh, I mean, of course, that's